world. Paul, there you are. Hey, Paul.
Hey, how you doing, buddy? Great to see you.
Good. Paul, what a morning. We have just jumped all over the world this morning. Seychelles, Norway, Kenya. We're going to Uganda. We're in the US. What a morning.
Absolutely fantastic. I've been watching the online stream and we've got big viewers. And isn't it right? We've had over 60,000 participants.
That's what I've heard. In the first 2 days, both viewing live and then viewing the recordings afterwards is over 60,000. I think we're up, somewhere between 60 to 80 countries that have taken part, and we still have a whole day to go.
Well, fantastic. Well done, everybody. And, everybody who's, been watching, and all the contributors and speakers and organizations behind them. And what did you like? Because we're now with Gladys. Gladys, how are you?
Oh, I think we might have a little pause in her signal. Let's see if she's able to. Oh,
there she is. Hi, Gladys.
How are you?
I'm doing great. Gladys, I just had to see you. Joe is hosting this session.
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Oh, great. Yeah, Gladys, I had to jump in to say hello because Joe's hosting this session and I'm actually in the thick of preparing my session. But I wanted to let you know that we're down to our last bag of gorilla coffee. So we need to send you a letter to say, please send more wonderful gorilla coffee.
Wow, that's great. Fantastic. We'll send you some.
I miss you. And for those of you that are watching and listening, Gladys and I worked together on the Rolex Awards, and we were last together in London at a glorious National Geographic dinner, if I remember rightly, Gladys. And so I'm sorry we're not with each other personally, but I wanted you to know that I'm connected to you with the great coffee.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, well, look, hey, thanks for letting me jump in, everybody. And thanks, Joel. See you later. I'm back in a couple of hours, I think.
Yep.
And Gladys, have fun. We're looking forward to this.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Thanks for supporting us.
All right, Gladys, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We've already been, I was just telling Paul, we've hosted speakers in the US, in Norway, in Kenya, and now we're heading to Uganda. So it's so great to have you joining us live, and we're so excited to learn a little bit more about the work that you are doing. In fact, I will give you a nice little introduction now. We've got Gladys Kalema-Zikusoka joining us right now. She is working with the organization Conservation Through Public Health and doing incredible work to help try and mitigate the impact of COVID-19 on the mountain gorillas of Bwindi Impenetrable National Park in southwestern Uganda. And you sent in just an incredible piece of backyard bio for us this morning. Just a really awesome photo of a hornbill. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that picture.
Yeah, that was by chance.
Okay, well, the signal isn't as smooth as it could be today, but we're going to make it work. So Gladys, when you're ready, we'd love for you to take over for a little bit and share some of your work.
Okay, well, thank you so much for inviting me for the festival. I hope you can hear me well. The internet in Uganda is not that great all the time. But yeah, I was really glad to be able to say my son actually spotted it, my 15-year-old son, Indigo, who's been going to the gorilla since he was very little, but actually only saw them recently when he turned 15, because that's the age that you're allowed to see them. On my screen straight away so that I can fit with this. Well, I hope you can see it and hear me. I'm really pleased to be able to be part of this festival. Thank you so much for inviting us. And thank you also for putting among the non-profits that are going to get a donation from this festival. Thank you very much. We started Conservation Through Public Health in 2003 because we're concerned about disease transmission between people and wildlife. And out of this, we've been having response here in Uganda because of our mission and our vision. So what is COVID-19? I'm sure everyone has seen this image so many times over the past couple of months. Very frightening image, but it's real. And one thing I'd just like to say about COVID-19, I'm sure everyone here has heard so much about it. There's been a lot of controversy over where it came from the Wuhan wet market. Others are saying maybe, conservationists and biodiversity, we know that it originated most likely from the Wuhan wet market. And being an RNA virus, it can easily transfer and mutate within species, and being a coronavirus. And we've had coronaviruses. I mean, coronaviruses are part of the flus that sometimes occur. It's just that this one is a much severe form of coronavirus. And there's been severe acute respiratory syndrome in Southeast Asia and affected a few countries, but from a bat, and the intermediate was thought to be a civet cat. And there's also been the Middle East respiratory syndrome. Look, when I saw this newspaper article that the China bat and dog market is reopened, I got a little bit learning something from COVID-19. We really need to learn something from all of this. And how does it affect the gorillas? So just as it's easily jumped from animals to people in those very crowded conditions, we are closely related.
Gladys, if you can hear me, I want to do a little experiment. I'm going to turn your camera off. I'm going to turn my camera off and see if that helps a little bit with the signal if we're just using sound.
Shall I continue?
Yeah, go ahead. I just turned your camera off because I think that's going to help us with the sound.
Okay. Yes, hopefully it will help. Is it any better now?
I think it's coming through a bit better now that I turned the cameras off. Yep.
I've been working with mountain gorillas. I went there as a vet student to do research on the gorillas. I'm pleased to let you know that the mountain gorilla numbers have continued to increase. When I first started with them, there were only 650, and now there's over 1,000. There's 1,063, a minimum of 1,063 in the national. And so we're really pleased about that. A lot of conservation efforts have gone into growing the numbers, and including veterinary care, community conservation, more monitoring and research, law enforcement, and tourism. Actually, we feel that tourism has contributed a lot, because actually the only gorilla subspecies where there's tourism going on, which is with the mountain gorillas, in Uganda and Rwanda and DRC, are the only numbers of gorilla subspecies that are growing. All the others, although they are more than the mountain gorillas in most cases, they're going down and they're still critically endangered. The mountain gorilla status changed from critically endangered to endangered in 2018 because it's the only species showing a positive growth trend. So although there are only just over 1,000 individuals, they're now endangered because they're showing a positive growth trend. And so this is something that we're really pleased about. But some of the they still continue. Because it's a very high human population growth. And this is the case in Rwanda and some of the other countries where gorillas, duiker and bush pig because people can set snares to eat them. In other countries, but however, since this is the biodiversity conference, I want to say that Bwindi Impenetrable National Park not only which is the flagship species, has chimpanzees. They're just not habituated, but you hear them. And sometimes you see them when you're tracking gorillas. It also has elephants. They're pretty aggressive. Those who have seen them have had to climb up a tree. It's quite frightening, but they're there, which is great. We also have a whole number of species of monkeys, including the bull, but we also have the blue monkey and other species of monkeys. We have the baboons, which like to come out of the forest, and rare species of birds, and we also have butterflies. So it's also a place for biodiversity, as well as the daikar and the bush pig that people like to eat. However, we had a disease outbreak in the mountain gorillas. Although I was hired, because for that reason, but actually the very first case we had came from baby gorilla died, and the rest only recovered with treatment of ivermectin. And it was eventually, these little boys were just hurt. They come from very poor families, which have a high prevalence of scabies within them. Sometimes children are sent home from school because of scabies. And so when we found, may ask where it came from not people visiting the gorillas in the park, gorillas going outside the park. Because of the very hard edge, people cannot, gorillas often go out once situated, and they've lost their fear of people. And they like to eat people's banana plants. And they like, gorillas being curious, probably touched it, and it's, so that's something that we're very concerned about. And the gorillas got scabies, but there've also been other diseases in people to great apes, such as the C virus that spread from people to chimpanzees. Those chimps also like to go outside crops where they got it from. And then in Ivory Coast, there was the actually virus which spread to the gorillas and killed 2 gorillas. And the strain was traced that it probably came from a tourist. And there's also been actually coronavirus, a mild form of coronavirus, OC43, which spread from the research site in Thai forest, where the chimpanzees got it. They didn't really show disease, but they found out when they did fecal analysis that they actually got OC43 from humans around the park, a mild form of coronavirus. So of course we're concerned about the evidence who we worked with, who was doing research on seeing whether tourists are willing to wear masks and other regulations. And so when ranger shops, working closely with the Uganda Wildlife Authority, who wanted us to train their rangers to make sure that they know what to do about preventing disease such as COVID-19 and other respiratory diseases from people. And we also worked with Mountain Gorilla Vet Project, International Gorilla Conservation Program, and Max Planck. And Don't stare at them in the eye, and keep a safe distance of 7 meters when they arrive in the morning. And we get tourists from all over the world. And this is a 7-meter distance. It's actually quite long. It's actually quite far away. And this was to emphasize to people that this is how far away. It's really important for people to understand, right? Long before everyone's been talking about social distancing during COVID, we've been talking about it since gorilla tourism began. But however, when we did some research led by 60% of the time, the tourists went closer than 7 meters, and 40% of the time, the gorillas broke the rules. So when they get so used to people, like Kanyoni, who I showed you in the photo, he grew. You know, when you have a cold or a flu, but then we also introduced regular before you visit. That was detected when a Ugandan came back from Dubai. He didn't have so feel that just by taking temperature, contact infrared thermometer, which was used a lot during the Ebola outbreaks in neighboring DRC. And it's something that we were using in Uganda to prevent Ebola in Uganda and prevent new infections. So this is our team. We're out there training. We also emphasized hand washing and disinfection. And one new regulation that came up was wearing of masks. People never used to wear masks before, but now everyone has to wear masks when they visit the gorillas. And one thing that I could say is that with the wearing of masks, our organization sits on the COVID-19 task force for the Ministry of Health because of the kind of work we do. We are one of the few conservation NGOs there, together with the Uganda Wildlife Authority. And when we went there, I asked them if they had surgical masks, and they didn't have any because they'd run out. The whole country had run out at that point. But someone from CDC said cloth masks can work just as well. And if you put in a lining, it can work almost as well as a surgical mask. And so we went ahead and we spoke to a local entrepreneur in the community and got her to make cloth masks because she was no longer getting tourists to hire back some of them, which was fantastic for her. And he was now wearing cloth masks, and we went to track the gorillas, and we were all wearing masks. And that day it rained very, very, very heavily. We had to even track them during the rain, and the cloth masks they didn't get wet. So now that's become a regulation. And even if tourism was suspended the day after this training to protect the primates, the gorillas, the chimps, and other wildlife, and the people, the park staff have to visit to make sure that they're healthy and they're protected from poachers, because obviously we are worried that poaching can go up, especially during this time, and everybody wears a mask. So as a result of COVID-19, the silver lining is that the great ape viewing regulations have actually been upgraded. These are infrared thermometers we donated to the Uganda Wildlife Authority, CTPH donated, and other people have donated. Dr. Jessica Rothman donated thermometers to Kibale National Park for the chimpanzees. And this is our staff doing training in the communities, getting people to understand that they have to be healthy and hygienic, put on masks, and use infrared thermometers before they go out to the gorillas. And of course, in Uganda, you don't only to the park when they come out, and as will come out during the pandemic, which they have actually already come out during the pandemic, 2 groups. They don't know that they don't know about social distancing either. So they've come out to eat banana plants and eucalyptus trees. Members who had them back, we gave them all masks. We developed some educational community conservation warden, Barbara, who's training them about COVID-19. And so these are the kind of materials that we developed with support from the ACAS Foundation, who funded the training, and Solidaridad. We've been able to talk to people. This was a regular poster for preventing COVID among people, and we added 1 paragraph about preventing disease between people and gorillas. Stay at least 10 meters away. To people about having hand washing facilities. So we're just reinforcing some of what is already being reinforced right now during the COVID pandemic. We gave them disinfectant, and these are the kind of gorillas coming to their gardens. And if people have defecated or anything like that, they can get put to gorillas. So this is Alex, our staff, over there. And we've continued to, of course, with Uganda, they've been so strict about social distance. So even the training has been taken much longer, because we have to train a maximum of 5 people at any one time about COVID-19. But they're really getting the message, and they're very happy. They all have masks, and they're very happy that we're helping them in this situation. So as we're doing what we can to prevent disease spread between people and great apes during this difficult time, there's a very big problem. Tourists are not coming to Bwindi. A lot of people's livelihoods changed when tourism began. They stopped digging, they stopped farming, and they started focusing on just being part of the tourism industry. They became porters. 90% of the people employed are from the local community by the park. They're working in lodges. They're selling crafts, they're selling accommodation, food, and now there's no tourism, and people are really suffering. So how can we protect the wildlife? Over here is gorilla conservation coffee that Paul Rose was showing in the video. And gorilla conservation coffee is a social enterprise. This is the Entebbe duty-free at the airport where people are flying out. They're the biggest buyer of the coffee. They orders almost every week, and now they've not placed an order since end of March, because of the COVID-19 pandemic. She had to switch. She's now making masks. She's made masks for the park staff, the gorilla guardians, the village health and conservation teams. She's probably also going to make masks for tourists when tourists. But she wasn't getting a fair just to feed their families. So we buy coffee from the farmers at 50 cents per kilo above the market price. And it's very good coffee, because in Bwindi, you can actually get very good Arabic altitude. And from every bag of coffee. So
Gladys, can you still hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, if you can still hear me okay, I stopped your screen share because it was starting to freeze up a bit more. And I really wanted to make sure that we heard this part about, what you're doing with the loss of the tourism dollars right now. So I thought I'd stop the screen share and see if you just told us that, what was happening, if that might come through a little clearer.
Yes, well, sorry about the internet.
No, that's okay.
So what we're doing is we're able to, okay, great. So what we're doing, we're able to sell the coffee we're mainly selling it in Uganda, but right now, in the absence of tourism, to focus more on getting the coffee sold out, because you don't actually have to visit the gorillas in order to buy gorilla conservation coffee. And so what we've done is we've got a new distributor in the UK called Moneybro. They're able to ship the coffee. We're able to ship the coffee to the UK. We managed to do this even during the COVID-19 pandemic. They're very pleased about that. They got the coffee 10 days ago and they're already starting to sell it. And we also have a distributor in America called Palm. They are able to sell the coffee here in America, again, without having to visit the gorillas. Even all the viewers who are listening, you can still be able to support the gorillas and reduce the need for the communities to enter the park by buying a bag of gorilla conservation coffee. We're also selling it in New Zealand, South Africa, Kenya, Canada, France, Switzerland, through distributors in these countries. But the major places are UK and USA and New Zealand and South Africa. So for more information about what we're doing, please visit our website, www.citypage.org, and the Gorilla Conservation Coffee website is www.gccoffee.org, and follow us on Facebook. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, Gladys, thank you so much for sharing that. It is a complicated issue right now. Tourism provides a lot of income. And it sounds to me like there's some great initiatives going on right now to replace some of that income. And please do send me the link so I can share it out with our audience, maybe even get it up on the website where people can find and buy the coffee. You still hear me, Gladys?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
Okay, excellent. So yeah, send me the links and I'll make sure that I share those out. And yeah, I think you can still hear me on your end, but unfortunately it's not coming through as cleanly for us. But I want to give you a huge shout out, Gladys, for the work that you're doing. We'll share some of it today. We'll get the link up on the website. You've adapted really quickly to the changes to help protect the gorillas from COVID-19. 7 meters is brilliant. Training people on that as well for when tourism does resume. So thank you for the incredible work you're doing and studying that impact between, we always worry about what wildlife can spread to humans. We forget that, we spread diseases right back in that direction. So thank you, Gladys, for the work you're doing. Thank you for spending some time with us today. Okay. Unfortunately, it looks like we may have lost the signal, but it was great to be able to connect with Gladys. Great to hear about the work she was doing, and understandable. In the best of times, it's tricky to get a connection. And so now with even more strains on the networks, it makes it even more difficult. So a huge shout out to Gladys for joining us. I'm going to turn my camera back on here and we are going to resume because we have Jesse waiting for us. Thank you, Gladys. Oh, I'm glad we get to say goodbye. Thank you so much for joining us today. Oh.
And thank you so much for supporting us. And this is a great festival.
Thank you. Thank you for that hornbill picture. I can't wait to post it on social some more. So thank you, Gladys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Well done.
All right, video's coming back on.
I'll try and log on to the YouTube. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.